me a video, and I took my time to watch the video. And I believe some of you people have also had the opportunity to watch those videos that I'm about to talk about. Now, in this particular video, a young proselyte, a novice who knows nothing about spirituality, and that guy is bereft of intellectual acuity, and at the same time he has lost his discernment of spirit. Now, this said guy that I'm talking about this Obolo Rasta who lives in Kofodia, claiming to have established a movement, where he sat on one of his channels to lay false claims that the great Yahweh has a senior brother who inhabits a higher realm more than Yahweh himself, where the senior brother of Yahweh is even more powerful than Yahweh himself. You see, as I've already told you, I keep on saying that lack of education will sometimes lead you to say certain things, and in return it will earn you an unprecedented result that will tend to ruin your reputation. And this is what has happened to the guy. I see him as a novice or a proselyte who has the zeal and capacity to function within the corridors of spirituality, but he doesn't have that capacity. He is not soiled and more sophisticated in the realms of the spirit to have understand certain things. Now, if anybody tells you that the great Yahweh has a brother called Abraxas, that person is a lie. Abraxas in question, it originated from Gnosticism. The Gnostics tend to see a higher God called Abraxas. Now, where did we come from, or where did the issues of Gnosticism originated? Now, Gnosticism originated in Alexandria, in Egypt, somewhere within the 2nd century, under the governance of Emperor Hadrian. Now, there was a guy called Basilite, who said to himself that he has had a revelation and then an encounter with a supreme being who claims that Yahweh, who happens to be the God of Israel, is a lesser deity or a lesser entity who can be classified as a demiurge. The demiurge means D-E-M-I-U-R-G-E, and a demiurge means a spirit who is lesser and ignorant and doesn't know that there is a spirit that is of a higher dimension more than that particular demiurge itself. So the great Yahweh or Yahweh, who happens to be the God of Israel, can be classified or categorized under the response of a demiurge, or in a better way, he is called an archon. Now, the archons are the rulers of these intergalactic, interplanetary, and then within the cosmic functions. The archons are the entities who rules this particular realm, and then this material realm. Now, the question in here is that this Basilite, who established Gnosticism, claims that when he had an encounter with an entity called Abraxas. Abraxas taught him that there are 365 celestial dimensions, and he, Abraxas himself, he happens to be the supreme ruler. And apart from he, Abraxas himself, there is an upper deity or a higher entity who is more powerful, well advanced, with certain powers which he has not yet bestowed onto any creature. And this particular entity is called monad. So within the realms of the Gnostics, they believe that Abraxas rules over 365 dimensions or heavenly realms, and the great Yahweh, who happens to be the God of Israel, rules out of the 365 7 heavens or 7 dimensions. And he went ahead by laying false claims that the great Yahweh is ignorant and he is a demiurge and doesn't necessarily knows that there is an existence of a powerful deity that is more powerful than he, Yahweh himself. Now, when you sit down and analyze these assertions, these false claims, you could see that you can smell something fishy within these doctrines. Why? Because, one, the Basilidians Gnostics claims that Jesus Christ was sent by Abraxas to come and repair the harm that Yahweh or Yahweh has caused within the material world. So Jesus Christ came from Abraxas directly. Now, these Gnostics went ahead to claim that Jesus Christ did existed, but as how Christians claims that Jesus was crucified on the cross of Calvary, it was never truth. Jesus was never crucified because when he was on the way to his crucifixion site, there was somebody called Simon the Syrian. When you read the Bible clearly, or if you've had the opportunity to watch these Jesus movies and stuff like that, when Jesus took the cross on his shoulder, heading to Golgotha to go and be crucified, the military men who were guarding Jesus had an encounter with a guy called Simon the Syrian. And Bible says that they instructed these gentlemen to lift the cross on the shoulder of Christ and help carry it to the site where they are going to crucify Jesus. Now, these Gnostics are laying claims that when this Syrian or Simon the Syrian got to Golgotha where Jesus was meant to be crucified, when they withheld and tied Jesus on the cross, Jesus removed himself from the cross and placed Simon the Syrian on the cross. So it was not Jesus who was crucified, but rather it was Simon the Syrian who was crucified on the cross. And Jesus was standing very close to Simon the Syrian, and Jesus was laughing. You see? Now, another claims being laid by these Basilidian Gnostics is that they said Yahweh is a demiurge, and probably because of that, he is ignorant And God doesn't know, the God of Israel doesn't know that there is a supreme deity who is ahead of him. So he intentionally created the material world to entice us so that he can get us captured within this material world. This is the claims by these Gnostics, where Basilidian claiming that when he had an encounter with Abraxas, that's what Abraxas actually outfitted to him. So the question in here is that within the 2nd century, under the rule of Emperor Hadrian, where you Basilide came on the scene by erecting your worship, which is termed as Gnosticism in this end time. These people, the Alexandrians, who were some part of Egyptian, they were worshiping different deities, and they already knew Abraxas. So the question in here is that if Yahweh or Yahweh happens to be a lesser deity who is ignorant and doesn't know anything about the existence of a higher dimensional power that is more superior with regards to he, Yahweh himself, and you, these higher powers being superior with regards to Yahweh, why did you sit down and allow Yahweh to punish the Egyptians, knowing fully well that when Yahweh decided to strike the Egyptians to liberate the Israelites from the hands of these Egyptians, Abraxas was in existence, and these so-called powerful aeons who claims to have occupied a higher level in the realms of the spirit more than the God of Israel, you, all these entities, you were there, but you were not able to interject the action executed by the great Yahweh. You sat down, looked unconcerned for him to carry out his agenda, where you people termed it as an evil. Now, compare this statement to this example that I'm about to cite. Let's assume you are in the same house with your little brother or your little sister, and you are 14 years. Let's say your little brother is 7 years, your little sister is 7 years, and you are 30 years. So 30 years and then 14 or 7 years, if they are to mount on a stage and fight, who will beat the other? Assuming the brother or the sister is to be of a higher state, a healthy state, how can you tell me that opatafour, a 7 years boy, can beat me? How can you tell me this story? So if Abraxas occupied 365 celestial world, which makes him superior and powerful than Yahweh, and Yahweh occupying only 7 celestial world, you sat down and allow Yahweh to destroy the entire Egyptians. How true is this? So, I have already told you that in the ancient times, Egypt was the headquarters of black magic, sorcery, divinations. So there were different entities, different deities, different archons, and different aeons who were operating within that dimension in the corridors of these Egyptian borders. So the question in here is that all these entities sat down and Yahweh fought them For Yahweh prevailed and conquered all these entities. So you see, you could see that these particular stories are born directly from the pit of hell. These stories are born directly from the pit of hell. Abraxas has nothing to do with Yahweh. Now, they called this guy called Basilide, or this Basilidian Gnostic leader. Now, when they call this Basilide to come and prove the appearance and how Abraxas looks like, he summoned some leaders and he decided to conjure things and work things together. And to the surprise of this Emperor Hadrian and other cabinets, when Abraxas appeared, he was having the head of a hen or a cock. And from the top like this is the head of a cock or hen. And from the middle to the down is a serpent. And Abraxas has a protrude stomach, who doesn't wear any attire. And Abraxas is holding a whip in his hand. And this demon, evil spirit, is trying to tell Basilide, who established Gnosticism, that he is a supreme deity ruling about 365 celestial sphere, and the great Yahweh, the King of Kings, rules 7. So he is superior with regards to Yahweh. How can somebody who has a protrude stomach with the head of a hen or a cock and the leg of a serpent, you are not even handsome, you are not even beautiful. If you are a woman, you this demon Abraxas, if you are a woman, you are not even beautiful. If you are a man, you are not even handsome. Because from the middle to your downstairs looks like a serpent. And the saddest aspect of it is that Abraxas has a tail. He has a tail of a serpent. And how can you tell me that this demon like this is greater or even equated or is the brother of great Yahweh? Do you know what you are saying? Do you know what you're saying? Are you even educated? Now, let me tell you this. You can do research. You can do research. You can do research. Let me show you something. Let me show you something so that. Let me show you something. Now, some of you people who are watching me, this is Abraxas. The Abraxas, that stupid guy who is bereft of discernment and intellectual acuity, is talking about. This is how he looks like. This is Abraxas. He has the head of a hen or a cock, the tail of a serpent. This is the whip I'm talking about. And this is the leg of a serpent, and has a protrude stomach, who has swallowed so many people's blessings. And this is the chain that he has used to chain so many different deities. This is how he looks like in other transfigured form or a transformed different forms. Now this is how he looks like in his sigil. So you could see how he looks. This is another image of Abraxas in an occultic realm. This is how he looks like. So you see, that guy who lives in Koffodia, he is ignorant, a complete tout, whose vapid and insipid reflects a death of an intellectual curiosity. Sometimes when he says something and you don't do investigation, because he is demonically anointed by the tongue, he will say things for you to believe it. So you see, these Abraxas in question that we are talking about, this is how he looks like. Now, this is the question, or this is the way forward. Within the realms of the Gnostics, the world are categorized into 3 dimensions. Listen to me. Within the realms of the Gnostics, the world is categorized into 3 dimensions. The first dimension is the demiurge, which is the realm of the material world. So within the cosmos of this existential realm, we have a demiurge who rules over us, and they are called archons. Now, when you read Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, let's see something. I want to talk to you. Ephesians, where is Ephesians? Ephesians chapter 6, verse number 12. This is it. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. I am reading the King James Version. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in higher places. Now, when you read this Bible clearly, within the language of the Grecian, the Grecian would tell you that we wrestle with the archers. The archers are the archons. So the Bible wants us to be very careful with regards to these archers or archons who impersonate the character of the Almighty, who impersonate the character of omnisciency, who impersonates the character and functions under the ordinance of omnipotency, but yet they don't have that merit, that audacity to function within that corridors. It is only the Almighty that has power to function like that. So some of you people who are conversant with the Grecian language, you could see that when you read the Grecian Bible, it will tell you that we wrestle not against archers, pneumatica penolias, exosiasis or exosias. This is the Grecian word, and it is translated as the principalities, powers, and rulers of darkness. And Abraxas happens. So now let's see something in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. Let's see something. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. Now I am reading my own, and it states that, wherein in the past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the powers of the air, the spirit that now works in the children of disobedience. So there are princes who inhabit the Leloria dimension. I have told you that there are 6 spiritual dimensions. 6 spiritual dimensions. It's either whatever the spirit may be, being a demon, an evil spirit, a witchcraft, a deity. It's either that particular said spirit functions within the Leloria world or the area. The area is what you people call in our local language as Ewiem Tumfuo. The Ewiem Tumfuo is called the area spirit. And this is the area spirit. There are 31 princes who controls the area dimension. Now, when you transcend beyond the area realm, a rarefied sphere beyond the moon, there is another realm called Leloria, where we have shining or glittering ones. There are fallen angels who lives within the Leloria dimensional world, who lives there. And sometimes, if care is not taken, when you see any of these luminous beings or angels, you might be tempted to see them as God. But meanwhile, they are not God. They are mere creatures. Now, from the Leloria dimension, and when you descend down beneath the moon, we have the area Ewiem Tumfuo. Now, from the area level, you come to this earthly realm, which is Asasisu to me. All the spirits in this world, all the spirit in this world, all the spirit in this world who inhabit our realm, the earthly realm, we have them there. Then we have another realms where dreaded deities are inhabited. When we talk about dreaded deities, I'm talking in respect to these evil spirits who impersonate the character of a ghost and plays the role of wickedness within the dark realm. We call them Hypochitonia. The Hypochitonia entities are dreaded deities of the underworld who can only be called by euphemisms. And sometimes they are worshipped by propitiations. Now, when you descend down and enter into another realm, we call it Hydria. And the Hydria is what we call the marine kingdom. So all the marine spirit in the world and all the water bodies, River Ofin, River Densu, Lake Victoria, the sea, Bosomche, all the river bodies that are being founded in the earthly realm, there are spirit entities, river deities who inhabit these river bodies, where they have their leader, like the Queen of Coast, the Manuata that you people have been saying, or Khalifa. All these evil spirit, they inhabit the realm of Hydria. Then we have another dimension where we call the Mesophys. The Mesophys are archons. The realm of the Mesophys are the archons and aeons who hate the light. And because of that, God knew that they are dangerous. And once they come into contact with humans, they will destroy the entire human race. So in the infinite wisdom of God, he actually used the power of darkness as chains to chain these people or these entities and threw them to the bottomless pit where they live as their destination, and they are in the waiting process for the appropriate time. So these entities are there. Then you tell me that Abraxas is the head and the brother of Yahweh. You are ignorant. You don't know anything. You are just a small boy who is trying to function within the realms of spirituality so that you can earn yourself a little recognition. But this is not the better way to go about it. Don't allow anybody to deceive you. Now, Bible says that now there are some people who always throw certain questions where they ask that why all the nations, God who created heaven and earth, will say that he has selected only Israelites or the Jewish people. So is God trying to tell us that the rest of the people, is he not the one who created them? So why would you create people like the Egyptians and the other countries? Then you hate them and tend to select one country and make it your own. Now, I have already explained this to you. The reason why God doesn't like the other nations apart from the Israelites was that after the great Yahweh has created everything, he sat down. He has 72 sons. So he sat down to share among his sons the nations of the world. And when he shared the nations, when it got to the Israelites, he made the Israelites as his own bona fide. That's what the legal luminary will tell you, or a bona fide property. He made Israel, which is Jacob, as his portion. So, at the initial plan, what these 72 sons of God were supposed to do is that they were supposed to rule and function within the corridors of this realm. And every now and then, they will lead their multitude to go and stand in the presence of great Yahweh and then render their worship to great Yahweh by showing respect and honor. But you know what they did? After the great Yahweh has shared among his sons, these 72, the nations of this world, 71 of them connived and said to themselves that if Yahweh has shared these nations to them, then they are not going to render their services and show honor to God again. They are going to rule within the quarters of where they have been placed and claim honor and everything unto themselves, apart from only one son. And the son, one of the out of the one son, who is the 72nd, who was placed in charge to take care of the Israelite. For him, he was very loyal. He is the one that you people call as Angel Michael. Angel Michael is not an ordinary angel, but Angel Michael is one of the princes of heaven who functions among the 72 sons of God. And when God shared among the nations of this world to his sons, he placed Angel Michael to take care of the Israelites. So what they did was that since God had shared these nations to them, they decided to isolate themselves from the divine realm and become the boss of their own. They ruled by themselves because all the princes in heaven, once you become a prince in heaven, automatically you'll be wielded with power to an extent where you'll be given a certitude who will be following you and paying you respect every now and then. So some of the princes in heaven who is being categorized as the son of God, some rule 50, 60 legends, and some of them also rule about 200-300 myriads of angel, and one myriad of angel is countless. You can cross-check it on the internet. Type on the internet and check 1 myriad of angel is equal to how many entities or angels. So you realize that one prince could rule over 50 million angels. And because of this, they decided to say to themselves that they will rule this place and not take the people to go and honor their father, who is the great Yahweh. And because of that, they rebel on the voice of their father. And God decided to place a curse on them, as how a son has deliberately done something to hurt the father, and the father couldn't control himself, and the father went ahead by making some pronouncement against the children. So the 71 princes were cursed by the great Yahweh. And the great Yahweh, once he cursed them, he took his name from them. You know that they bear the name of God. And once you bear the name of God, you can't be cursed. So God was not able to curse his sons who rebelled against him until when he took his own name from them and gave them a different name. And the name of great Yahweh, which is the 72 names of Yahweh, it carries power. So once he takes the name from you, it means you have been incapacitated in the realms of the spirit, and you can only function within some limitations. You can't cross the borderline. But apart from these Israelites who were given in charge of Archangel Michael, as how you people know him, but within the celestial world, in the seventh dimension, he is a prince with a crown on his head. So what Angel Michael did was that God said he was faithful, so he should take care of the Israelites and all the people, because the sons rebel against the voice of their father, which led to the pronouncement of curses unto them. God doesn't like those entities and their nations. They decided to corrupt the other nation. So this is how it came about, where God decided to hate other nations. It's not like God loves Israel and doesn't like the other nation. So Egypt was a town or a country that was being loved by God, and he cherished them so much. But because the leader who has been put in charge to take care of the entire Egyptians and to lead them to come to the presence of the great Yahweh has rebelled against God, and because of that, they all envy the one star who never rebelled the voice, and that is the kingdom of Israel. And when we talk about the kingdom of Israel, Israel speaks and operates within the corridors and within the power of the great Archangel Michael. Michael is the supreme ruler, the leader who leads the entire Israelites to the presence of God. And because of that, the 71 princes who rebelled against God to an extent where it warranted them an incapacitation, they hate the entire Israelite. They don't like Israel. So this is how come Israel became the headquarters of God. This is how come Israel became the Holy Land. All the lands were happy. And the other time, I quoted a quotation to support this claim. I told you and gave you a quotation where God sat his people down. Who can remember that quotation? The quotation that I quoted the other time, explaining to you how God sat his sons down and shared among his sons the nations of this world. So you see, this is how come these entities, they are being hated, and the great Yahweh doesn't like the other nations, not as a direct hatred, but he hates them at the expense of their leader, the leaders who rules this particular nation. You see, they decided to divert the hearts of the inhabitants of that dimension, like the leader who rules over Egypt. That particular angel directed the heart of the people and grounded them in the practices of divination, the practices of sorcery, the practices of divination. And because of that, God didn't like it. So he rebuked them and threw them off from his presence. So it was only Archangel Michael who was faithful to the voice of Yahweh. This is how come Israel remains only country after the heart of Yahweh. And it doesn't necessarily mean that because of the people, but because of the leader of the nation, and the leader of the nation of Israel is the great prince Michael. Kwadra Piasante says, Papa, so where are the leaders now? Please, which leaders are you talking about? Now, there is an angel who rules within the corridors of Persia. You, this particular angel, you were the second in command to be created by God. And this angel, when you were placed to go and take care of that territory in Persia, which is now Iran, you, this particular angel, decided to rebel on the voice of God by making Persia your bona fide property, knowing fully well that you have not even created a strand of hair before. But you, this angel, you took Persia as your own. You lured Persia as a country. So, because this angel was so powerful and was among the first to be created by Yahweh, that is why Daniel chapter 10, verse number 13, when God dispatched angel Gabriel to bring response to the prayer of Daniel, this particular Persian principality, that Archon, he is an Archon who inhabited that realm. He blocked the way of Gabriel, arrested him, and intercepted the answer of Daniel's prayer. You see what? So they have become envious and jealous of Israel till date. That is why anybody who repents and take on the cross by following the footsteps of Yahweh, automatically you become a citizen of Israel. So the other time I told you that in Rome, there is a principality in Rome, and then a principality in Persia, who always go before the Lord every morning, but they are not permitted to get a direct access to the presence of God, but rather they are able to ascend and bypass certain realms to get to a certain prince, and that prince is a very powerful prince. That prince who controls that cosmic dimension, that realm, is not an ordinary entity. If you understand what I'm saying. So within that realm, all the 71 princes of God, they have stolen the nations that was bestowed upon them. Today they don't care. I have told you that Ghana functions under the authority of a different country. Ghana has not attained an independent state or a sovereign state in the presence of God. Ghana still functions under the ordinance of Egypt. The principality who controls Egypt controls Ghana. The principality who controls Egypt controls Ghana. The principality who controls Egypt controls Nigeria. The principality who controls Egypt controls Burkina Faso. You see, controls Benin, controls Togo. All these nations that I've mentioned, they have not yet attained an independent state. They don't govern by themselves. So, this particular principality or an archon who was sent to go and take charge of the corridors or within the dimensions of these Egyptians' territory, he went there to go and influence them on black magic, sorcery, fetishism, deitism, and stuff like that. So you could see that our history, some part of our Africans like Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Benin, and its environs, you could see that majority of them, they originated from Egypt. And when you go to Nigeria, go and see how they have inclined highly in the worship or practices of idolism. Come to Ghana, go to the Volta region, come to Ashanti region, come to Eastern region, come to Greater Accra, come to the Northern region. Go and see how people worship different deities, different gods. Why? They are doing all this under the influence of the principality who rules Egypt and has made it a point that he would divert all and sundry for them to come and worship him rather than respecting the great Yahweh. And somebody will also go ahead and ask that, why has the great Yahweh sat down and allow all these entities to function? Yes, I have already told you that within the celestial bureaucracy, it is being governed by rules. God knows that what they are doing is not good, but he cannot just get up and destroy them just like that. God functions within some given laws, and that is the realities of it. So, if you don't know God, and if you have not had the opportunity to be revealed to the mysteries of this world, sometimes because of the shortcoming of this King James Bible, you'll be frustrated because a lot of things coded in the King James Bible, it doesn't click well. Why? Because when you read it, you will not understand it unless you meet people of our time to decode scriptures and make you understand it. So please, this is all what I'll give you today. Maybe next time when you meet, I'll give you another bone to chew. So Abraxas was an archon. And the archons in the realms of the spirit are rulers of the material world. They are principalities who rules this world. So archon like Abraxas is an archon who rules within certain dimensions, and he is a demon. Abraxas was sent to go and rule a certain cortex. So this is opatafour for you. I am opatafour. So Abraxas is not the brother of Yahweh, and Abraxas is never powerful than Yahweh. Abraxas, when I showed you his pictures, look at how ugly he looks. How can an ugly entity like this become the champion of the day? About y'all, opatafour me gusua me ko school enti me brofo ni nya mo fa che me kakra me wie school a me hunu brofo ka me pa cha mo ma bye. Good night. We shall meet again. Don't forget to sow your seed. Bring your money. Bye bye.